Every Sunday morning, my grandfather, Grandpa Joe, sits in his favorite rocking chair, drinks a cup of black coffee, and reads the newspaper. He is 75 years old, has a sharp wit, and possesses an absolutely brilliant smile. The only problem is that his brilliant smile comes from a pair of expensive, removable false teeth. Last Sunday, the house was completely chaotic. My 7-year-old cousin, Leo, was running through the living room wearing a superhero cape, chasing our fluffy white cat, Barnaby. Grandpa Joe watched the chaos, laughed, and took a big sip of his coffee. Then, he decided it was time for his morning nap. He took his false teeth out, placed them neatly on a small ceramic saucer on the side table, leaned his head back and went fast asleep. An hour later, Grandpa Joe woke up with a loud yawn. He reached over to the side table to grab his teeth, but his hand touched empty air. He looked down at the ceramic saucer. It was completely empty. "My teeth!" Grandpa Joe shouted, though it sounded more like "my teeth," because his mouth was completely empty. The entire house instantly went into emergency mode. A missing set of false teeth is a major family crisis. My mom started checking under the sofa cushions. My dad looked inside the kitchen cabinets. Grandpa Joe was wandering around the living room, looking completely lost and muttering about how he couldn't eat his Sunday roast dinner without his grinders. That is when I noticed little cousin Leo. He was sitting on the rug, completely silent, which is never a good sign for a 7-year-old. He was staring intensely at Barnaby the cat. "Leo," I whispered, walking over to him, "do you know where Grandpa's teeth went?" Leo looked up at me with massive, innocent eyes. "I didn't take them," he said quickly, "but I think the secret agent took them." "What secret agent, Leo?" Grandpa Joe asked, stepping forward and frowning with his toothless gums. Leo pointed a shaking finger at Barnaby. The cat was sitting under the dining table, looking incredibly proud of himself. But as Barnaby turned his head toward us, my dad gasped, my mom shrieked, and Grandpa Joe fell backward onto the sofa in absolute shock. Barnaby the cat had a massive, perfect human smile. The mischievous little cat had walked past the sleeping grandpa, scooped the false teeth off the saucer with his paw, and somehow managed to wedge them perfectly into his own mouth. He looked like a tiny, furry monster with a dazzling Hollywood smile. He even blinked at us, as if to say, "Look how handsome I am." "Get him!" my dad yelled. What followed was the most hilarious chase in family history. My dad was crawling on his hands and knees under the table. My mom was waving a piece of turkey to trick the cat. Leo was cheering for the cat, shouting, "Run, Agent Barnaby, run." Grandpa Joe was running in circles waving a broom, looking like a pirate who lost his treasure. Barnaby realized the game was up. He sprinted across the living room, jumped onto the back of the sofa, and took a massive leap toward the open kitchen door. But mid-air, the heavy false teeth slipped out of his mouth. Splat! The teeth landed directly into a giant, freshly baked bowl of chocolate pudding that my mom had left on the kitchen counter to cool. The room fell completely silent. We all walked into the kitchen and stared into the bowl. Right in the center of the smooth, dark chocolate pudding was Grandpa Joe's perfect smile, looking right back at us. Grandpa Joe looked at the pudding, then looked at the sticky white cat, and finally looked at Leo. The anger completely vanished from his face. He burst into a loud, wheezy laugh that made his whole belly shake. Within seconds, the entire family was laughing so hard we had to lean against the kitchen walls for support. We cleaned the teeth thoroughly with hot water, and Grandpa Joe safely locked them back into his mouth just in time for lunch. As for Barnaby the cat, he spent the rest of the afternoon hiding in the closet, realizing his career as a human-toothed secret agent was officially over. If you want to know what Leo did with Grandpa's walking stick the very next day, click on this video right here for part 2. Subscribe so you never miss another family adventure, and tell me in the comments, what is the funniest thing your pet has ever stolen?